In this video, let's compare Webflow, Framer, Figma Sites, and Wix Studio in a feature-by-feature breakdown. Just to be clear, Webflow is not sponsoring this video. They didn't ask me to make it. In fact, I've avoided making this for a long time, but someone booked a consulting session recently to ask me this, and it made me realize it should be open to everyone. So if you're already sold on another platform, I'm probably not going to change your mind. But if you're a designer considering which platform should I use, hopefully this will help you realize why myself and so many others continue to choose Webflow, even when there's newer platforms out there with better looking UI. So the first thing this person asked me was, if the end result is a beautiful looking site, does it really matter how the site is built? And I hear many people say this, especially saying that clients don't really care how a site is built or they never ask about it, but it's not the client's job to know those details. So there's a wonderful video by a guy named Kevin Gary where he was comparing different WordPress builders and asking the same question. And he said, if you go to a mechanic, you assume that that mechanic is doing things to the highest quality. They're not duct taping things together. So it's not really your job to know as the customer all the ins and outs of how the car should be put together. It's the mechanic's job to work at a professional standard. And the client just kind of assumes that. So the same thing can be true about web design. There are standards that have become common for a reason, and some tools follow them better than others. Some tools allow you to follow them better. And it's our job as professionals to choose a tool that can meet the right standards. I was watching a video of someone building this wooden Apple car for his child recently, and it had all these amazing features from a touchscreen to backup lights and everything that you would expect, but it was missing some key features of a car that made it something that you could take on the road. So even though it was beautiful and it had a lot of the features, because it was missing some of the important required features that make up a true car, it couldn't actually be used in the way that a true car can be used. And the same can be said for tools. So let's look at some of these different features in a feature by feature breakdown. The first feature is clean HTML, meaning if we add an element like a paragraph to the page, the builder only adds that element. It doesn't wrap it in an extra div that we only see on the published site, but doesn't show in the builder. Now, at the time of recording this video, Webflow was the only of the four that actually kept that HTML clean. This is important for page speed. As we start to add more and more elements, the issue can compound. And if we have elements that we can't actually see in the builder, it's hard to understand the relationship of elements and target things. Any professional builder will generate clean HTML. The second feature is rim units. Instead of using pixels, rim has become the industry standard because it allows the site to automatically adapt to the user's preferred font size without the user having to manually zoom in or adjust anything. Now, Webflow supports rim units for font sizes, paddings, margins. Framer mainly supports rim for font sizes, and then Figma Sites and Wix Studios do not allow rim at the time. Now, the third feature is margin. Margin is such an essential part of web design. It allows us to do things like apply some default bottom spacing to all headings throughout the site. Without margin, if we want a unique space between a heading and a paragraph, we have to wrap those elements together in a div and use gap instead. That requires an extra div each time we want a unique space, which adds more elements to our site and slows down the development process. Also, if we want to maybe increase the bottom spacing on all headings throughout our site, that's really easy to do with margin, but with gap, it would be a manual process of going to each of those elements. So margins allow for some global consistency in the design as things evolve and change, and they're an essential, non-negotiable part of a professional site. Now, in efforts to make these tools more beginner-friendly, a lot of them strip away some essential parts of CSS that are just foundational, and beginners end up never learning these important concepts because they're using a tool that doesn't even have them. The fourth feature is CSS variables. This allows us to store styles like colors, sizes like border width, border radius, inside of style that can be reused and globally updated. Now, for both Framer, Figma Sites, and Wix Studio, they They allow us to store some styles in the backend and globally update those styles, but on the published site, they're all rendered as raw values, so it's not true CSS variables. Now for Webflow, they not only render that on the published site as true CSS variables, which means we can animate the variables, globally update them based on different conditions. It also allows us to do complex things like mixing colors together and using calculations. So really the CSS variable power in Webflow is unmatched. The next feature is inheritance, meaning we can apply a font related style to a parent div and all text inside will receive that style unless overridden. Things like font size, font weight, text transform, and color, we can apply that to a parent to affect the children. Now in Framer, Figma Sites, and Wix Studio, we can't actually apply that color to anything except a text element. But in a tool like Webflow, if we want to change the font color of the section, we just apply that color to the whole section and then all text inside receives it. This creates cleaner code and a faster workflow, and inheritance is just such a core part of CSS. Next are custom classes, meaning we can create a class, name it whatever we'd like, and apply it to any elements to reuse styles across those elements. This allows us to work faster and keep our site code cleaner by reusing styles that already exist, and it allows us to globally update those styles. Now, Framer and some of these other tools push you towards components for keeping styles in sync, but components in themselves often aren't enough. Classes allow us to keep styles in sync across multiple types of components. Next is all CSS properties, meaning if there's something the builder doesn't support, how easy is it to still add it in? Now in Webflow, if there's a CSS property Webflow doesn't support, we can easily add it into the style panel by just typing that CSS directly in and changing it across breakpoints, and it works really nice natively. Now with a lot of these other builders, we had to convert the whole component, the HTML and everything, to code and just add props of certain things we want to allow the user to control visually, whether that's certain styles. Now Webflow, it works a lot nicer because we can still control the full HTML, the structure visually, and we just add a little bit of custom code, whether it's JavaScript or anything on top of that, without locking away the whole structure from the user. Using Webflow taught me HTML and CSS to the point where I could even move outside of Webflow and build some really cool things. So that even if Webflow disappears tomorrow, it wasn't wasted time because I didn't just learn some proprietary tool, but it actually taught me the fundamentals of coding in a way that's fun and visual to learn. So even though there's a learning curve, that learning curve is an investment in yourself. So I'd encourage you to dive in and give Webflow a try.